Hello, good afternoon, everybody. It's really lovely to see you here. I'm going to just flick you onto gallery view actually, so I can see all of you at once. There we go, lovely. So we're here today to meet as the Love Movement members meeting, all of us together. I'll just take a minute to come into this space. So let's just do some deep breaths. Now, a really nice breath actually is going to sound really silly. We're going to look a bit silly if we do it, but when we do it. So mute yourselves. Okay. Put your thumbs in your ears and block off your ears. Close your eyes and do a really angry, loud B sound. A lovely buzz, and you will get such a resonance in your head if you just keep all the sound in. It vibrates the bones. It can set your sinuses going a bit, clear them a little bit. So, ready? I'm going to let you hear me humming, but you don't have to. Ready? And just do it as long as you can. It gets a nice long breath. It means that you're definitely breathing out longer than you're breathing in. One couple more. Last one. So hope you joined in with that. And I think it's lovely the way it vibrates your bones, but you do have to close off your ears and your eyes really well. Now, let's take a moment to think about everybody in this movement coming together, this great time of awakening. And think of it as we've seen that the elections are going to start coming up. It's going to be a slightly turbulent time. Now, that can be exciting. We can be riding the waves. And if we keep ourselves high, that's what will happen. We will ride the waves instead of drowning under them. Let's spare a thought for those who have been holding the light and carrying the message, speaking out on our behalf, who have been persecuted for that. Let's think at the moment of Julian Assange, send some love, as he's apparently struggling at the moment with the isolation. Let's think of all the other people. There's a journalist in the Ukraine who is also had all his finances cut off in England and is threatened with arrest when he returns for reporting what's actually happening there. So send him some love. And send love to all the people who are being persecuted, niggled at, got at, including those in our own movement. Rachel, who's being hassled by the police for various things. Richard Vobes, who had his car threatened. I think he managed to get it back. Steve Forsyth of Lighthouse Healing, who had his car taken. So many of them now, so many now, who have paved the way, who've been at the coalface, led the way for us. Let's send love and light to them and ask that we have the same courage in this year. Bring it in. Let's bring in the courage, the steadfastness, because all we have to do now is ride this out. Okay, let's come back into this space. Hey everybody. I think it's all about Rachel today, and Roger, who is standing for election, and Julie if she gets here. I've not heard of elections in this area yet, but I'm pretty sure they will be here in May, and I will of course be standing. So if you can get the message out for us, get on social media, get on any press that you have, any organizations that you have, start dropping the little seeds, and then maybe more blatantly tell them to get behind us and ask people for their money as well. As we can always put that towards printing leaflets and other types of publicity. So we see the elections very much as pattern interrupting, very much as challenging the status quo. It's probably in the long run not all that necessary, because I do think the whole system is going to collapse in its own way, but it's up to us to bring it down gently, lower it gently, stop it swinging too far one way and then too violently back another way. So there's a lot of reasons for us to stand for election, because it helps get the word out. You can say things at election time that you can't at other times. You are protected by ancient laws that protect your freedom of speech in a way that we haven't been able to protect it in other areas of life. So lots of reasons for getting behind the people who are standing for election. And also, of course, for building from the bottom up. It's great when we can set an example. Right, let's go to Roger first. He's had his hand up for a long time. I can't hear you, Roger, you're muted.
Yeah, okay, that's better. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
So thank you for hosting the meeting. And I've just been watching a Richard Vogue's video, YouTube. And he had a man there whose first name was Edward, but didn't give his surname. Anyway, he's a retired postmaster, and he's now involved in a small company, like a property management company, and he's having some hassle with the fire department. So it's taken him into litigation. But the important thing that I'm really wanting to say is that he's very, very eloquent and knowledgeable about trial by jury. You don't have to be that knowledgeable. It's fairly simple, actually. But anyway, he iterated it all very, very well. And the interesting thing is how he told of the machinations of the judiciary to delay trials and to in fact probably disrupt them completely. So I'll say whoever wants that video, I can send it to them, which I would have done, but I didn't have time because I had to come on the meeting. But I'll send you all that
Yes.
recording. The link to
Yes,
the recording.
pop it in the Love channel. That would be very helpful.
Yeah, that's a better thing to do. Absolutely. Yeah, that's easier. Yeah, so I'll do that, and I've started my fundraising.
Lovely.
Yeah, we have a group which is actually emanates from the community assemblies. John Gilbert, and so we've got a group meeting every 2 weeks at a local restaurant, which is very good. And I mentioned, well, not mentioned, announced my bid for election for the 2 positions, and some of them agreed that they're going to give me some money because I asked for some money.
That's brilliant. And those 2 positions are MP and Mayor of Yorkshire, is it?
It's Mayor of York and North Yorkshire Is it consolidated councils?
Oh, for goodness sake, these names. Okay.
Yeah, it's quite,
Combined local authority council.
sorry, yeah,
Something like that.
combined. I keep getting that word wrong. I keep thinking
That'd be
about consolidated, but it's not. Combined authority. Yes, it's combined authority, not consolidated. Yeah, so and I did get a reply from them, by the way, yesterday. So they know I'm around, and it was an inane reply. They were asking me, what I wanted, but it was fairly obvious what I wanted. And anyway, I just went along with it and answered the question. Basically, was I want to know, how do I register to be a candidate for these two positions? So they know now, and so I'm waiting for their response to my latest email. That's all I've got to say that's of any relevance, and except to give my support to you, Rachel, for your efforts in fighting the system. I'm sure you do. Well,
Ushering in a new system, I don't think we have to fight. It's on its way down, isn't it? It's
well, no,
collapsing.
I'm just referring to this particular instance with the car.
Oh yes, yeah.
I'm not talking about the system in general. Oh,
Sorry.
absolutely, absolutely. I think it's probably gone already.
I
Yeah.
think you're right. I mean, I can see the Rishi Sunak clip from GB News was interesting. I think that pretty much showed that, well, it showed a couple of things. First of all, I'm pretty sure it was staged, but I think it was supposed to show him in some sort of compassionate light, which it failed to do. It was also hanging the doctors out. It was all about passing the buck to the medical establishment, who I have to say I have lost respect for, and they are slightly culpable, but they were doing what the government told them. And now that's not particularly excusable, but it means that they are not the only ones to be held to account here. The government were there pushing them all the way to do this, to do their dastardly deeds, and paying a lot of money to get it done, paying per COVID victim, per jab, per person in the, per COVID death. It was all, yeah. So but he was definitely hanging them out to dry, hanging the establishment out to dry. I think that's what it was designed to do. It was designed to get, to say, oh, look, the Tories listen to the experts and listen to the scientists and listen to the medics and listen to this, that and the other. But, if they got it wrong, oh dear, that's terrible, and we'll hold them to account. So yeah, he was definitely trying that. I think they're also trying to soften us up. So there's this drip feeding thing. Let people hear about the injuries. For some people, it will be the first time, amazingly, and drop it in gently so you don't get the massive wave of anger that will throw it out. They're very good at doing this. They're very good at releasing little snippets here and there, so you're desensitized to the real rubbish that they've been up to. And they've been doing this psychological warfare rubbish for a long time now. So yeah, but they're definitely worried. They're definitely on the run. They're still playing the game the old way. But I think, I don't think anybody buys it. A lot of people don't buy it now, and we're definitely getting towards that tipping point. So let's see what Rachel's got to say about her campaign. Rachel's got 3 positions. 3.
Oh yeah, 3. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit of one-upmanship going on here. Come on, Roger, where's your position?
Yeah, so it's quite interesting here, because I've had a bit of a kick up the bum, because I found out there's a by-election in Bakewell next Thursday. So my campaign leaflet, which basically goes through letterboxes, so whichever way it falls on the doormat, you get the full impact of vote Rachel Elnaugh-LOVE. But it's actually a A3 leaflet folded into 3. And so it's got the Bakewell campaign, but it's also got the local mayor campaign and my MP for Derbyshire Dales campaign, and a little bit of a correction about all of the propaganda which has been issued about me, and in my sort of, for the record, in my defence. So it's kind of serving three purposes. So what I've found is, as I've been going out with them, it's been quite interesting to hand them to people, and they say, oh no, I'm not going to vote. So that opens the conversation. Or they may say, oh, I've already put in a postal vote and it wasn't for you. And I said, well, there's still the regional mayor and there's still the MP, and please do take it and have a read. Even if you didn't vote for me this time, there's still these other things to vote for. And the interesting thing is, I've been going into local independent businesses, and it's and there's so much anger and resentment about the mainstream political parties, about how they don't feel supported by what's going on, and how there's just a hunger for people who will listen and support them, you know, as opposed to, and I've been having that conversation of all of the support is for big corporations because they don't want independent businesses to thrive. And so it's so important that independent candidates, you know, are voted in. And another interesting thing that happened, I actually gave one to the groundsman in the park, which opened a whole conversation about bulbs, about how he needed more bulbs. And when I got elected, could he get more bulbs to plant in the park? And it opened a whole conversation, because I actually went to the garden centre. I passed it this morning and went in and asked them, like, would they be interested in sponsoring bulbs, and what's the position with bulbs? And I'm kind of up on bulbs now, and took him a little offering, because you can't buy bulbs, it's in this season, you have to plant them in August, September, but what you buy is sprouting ones currently. But they do tender for the council. Obviously they put out the 3 tenders for local businesses for the bulbs for the local council. But the interesting thing when I took them in and reopened the conversation was that the level of red tape they have to go to get anything done. So I was like, why didn't they just devolve power to you, the groundsmen who are looking after the park? They've got all the ideas. They know exactly what needs to be done. Why did they have to go through all these layers to get someone at Matlock Town Hall to approve everything? It's just insane, you know. And even he was saying that the local people are just like offering cuttings from their garden, you know, and a local guy was saying he's not waiting for the council to sort things. He just, if he sees a broken park bench, he just goes and fixes it, you know. And it just really feels like there's a real hunger and appetite to collapse all of this pyramid structure of command control and red tape, and just return the power to the people and just let the people get on with it, whether that's just a team of the groundsmen, and devolving power and saying, okay, it's your park, you run it, you work here, you're intimately close to it, you know, in terms of you're here every day, you're listening to the people. Let them have you know, much more free reign to do what they need to do to make it beautiful. So it's been very interesting. And one other last thing I will say, 2 points. One is that guy Edward that you were mentioning, Roger, that was on Richard Vogue's. I think he's the same guy. He sounds like the same guy that Dean was kind of mentoring, coaching, who encouraged him to require a trial by jury, and he got one. He was the one who, like, he couldn't get, it takes 18 months to get a trial by jury. If we all asked for a trial by jury, the whole system would collapse because they wouldn't be able to cope, basically. So that's one thing. The second thing I just wanted to mention, I went on a little platonic Valentine's night treat last night, and we went for dinner, and then we went to the movies to see Wonka. I'd really recommend you go and see Wonka. It's about the backstory to Willy Wonka, and it's all about plant medicine and magic and the power of the imagination and the power of camaraderie and laughter and music to break the evil spell. Obviously it's a PG, it's a children's film, but it's such a powerful movie. I loved it.
Julia recommended that as well. She said there was so many messages in it.
Who did that?
Julie, she was
Oh,
saying how many messages.
Oh, right. Maybe it was her that inspired me to say, oh, we
Maybe.
should go and see that, because and I drink cacao every day, so it's like very you know, it is a magical plant medicine, cacao, you know, heart opening medicine.
Yeah.
So it's a really brilliant movie. So just wanted to plug that. So that's my
Lovely.
little update.
Yeah, brilliant. The bulb thing really just reminded me when I, you know, as a kid, there's a garden centre a few miles away, run, and it used to be called Wheatcroft's. It was run by Mr. Wheatcroft, who lived at Colston Bassett, a couple of villages away, and basically every year, he would put all the excess bulbs, all the ones he hadn't managed to sell. He would send out his workers, and they would plant them in the verges around the centre.
Oh, wow.
It was amazing. And for years, as we went down in the spring, there would be these sort of massive verges full of daffodils and other beautiful flowers all around that area, all around. I mean, they've completely trashed it now, as you can imagine, with, you know, various roadworks and things and all the rest of it. And they don't, of course, he sold it ages ago, and that tradition stopped. But every spring, it didn't, you know, paid for it all himself, didn't bother consulting anybody about it. Obviously, just sent them out, go and plant these bulbs, these excess bulbs that are just going to rot. And that's just so sensible. I don't see why we can't do that. So anyway, I've got my seeds ready this year. There's from Real Seeds, it's called it. They're heirloom seeds, which means I can collect the seeds. I did it last year, so I've got a few seeds from last year to replant. But there's so much we can do now. So many things that we've been just told we can't do, and we really can. We really can. It's just silly. So yeah, and the trial by jury, I've got somebody at the moment who will remain nameless, but is very close to my heart. She was attacked in Melton, and you know, got plenty of evidence for it and everything. The trial has been delayed so many times. You know, this offence took place 2 years ago now, and they just keep delaying it and delay it. They do not want this to go ahead. Do not want trial by jury. It's that simple. They do not want trial by jury. Not even for the criminal cases, not even where it's obviously there's a victim and obviously a perpetrator. They just do not want it. So yeah, and so they're just basically, I keep saying, they're just hoping that you will drop it. They are hoping that, because she kept saying, she said, I'm fed up with it. I'm just gonna, you know, I've moved on and I just can't be bothered with it and everything. I said, yeah, that's exactly what they want. But she sort of went very awake, by the way. Oh my God, I hadn't thought of that. I'm definitely I'm going to go all the way with this one. So she's holding out for her day in court. But yeah, even as a victim, you know, you can't get the justice at all. So anyway, we've got Simon, who has who's very active with a co-op scheme at the minute. I don't know whether that's what he's going to talk about today.
No, I want to. Rachel's really got me thinking. This thing for the park, they'll put out for 3 tenders, which means they've got a budget. Which means if we could, I mean, I've got thoughts on how to do this, but if we could find ways to do things that are done without taking the money, we could, and then find out each thing they're responsible for in turn and find ways to get it done within the community without needing the borough. We could quite legitimately ask them to reduce the council tax and nibble away at it.
Yeah, totally. We take responsibility away from them, make them irrelevant. This is what I keep saying, build up our systems, you know, even right down to sort of repairing our stretch of road. I know they'll prosecute you for it, but
and especially if you took that one thing as an example and made the parks absolutely gorgeous and say, look, this is because we took it off them, they're sick to death, we took responsibility, this is how much they would have allocated it out of your budget. We as a consequence expect them to either reallocate that money to something else of our choosing or to reduce the council tax.
Totally, yes. It's a brilliant thing. And bulbs, so simple. I mean, these things divide anyway.
Well, we don't need a garden centre. We can produce our own bulbs.
No, but exactly, in our own garden, these bulbs will divide up and be there for next year. They clump up, all bulbs do, and they clump up. You can take a whole load out and you can put them somewhere else, and it's so, yeah, very easily done, and it would be a real community building thing. Of course, that's the kicker, isn't it? That's what they really don't want, is the communities coming together and doing stuff, because then they talk and then they plan how to change the system. So exactly what they don't want, but exactly what we need to do. Yeah, it's great. I think it's a wonderful thing to do. Rachel. Sorry, Simon.
Just very quickly, I mean, I've got a printout here from my town council, and one of the things they do is, part of their responsibilities is keeping the bus shelters clean. I reckon I could reach out, I mean, because I'm in the cleaning industry, I reckon I don't know, my bus shelters they're responsible for, let's say it's 10. I bet I could find 10 cleaning companies who would take on board to keep one clean a month.
Easily, yeah. Or just people, actually. I mean, we go and sweep our own. We just do. It's, if you see, it's a bit manky. We've started putting books in our book shelter, got bookshelves, and just made it another way to get books out there. And so I take books down sometimes, and sometimes I nick one or two as I go past. And that seems to be working quite nicely. And there was no particular discussion about it. We just sort of get on and do it. And that tends to be how things go well here. It tends to be better than going to the parish council and discussing things which gets nothing done. We just do stuff.
I'd really love to pursue this, Rachel. I think that's got huge potential.
Well, yeah, would you need it as an organised initiative, or do we just, perhaps through the Stand in the Park network, Rachel? What do you reckon? Put it out there.
I put my hand up again. I don't want to hog the call because I'm conscious there's lots of other people, but I feel passionate about all these things. I was also speaking to the guy about planting fruit trees as opposed to park trees. And like, why don't we make it into a fruit forest, so that when people walk through, they can, like in the summer, they can pick an apple or plums, and it's like, oh, the mess. And I'm just like, but sure, you know, I'm sure the trees would actually probably be stripped bare because there's so many tourists and people would eat them. There wouldn't be that many dropping for wasps and things. And he said, well, other parks have done it. And he's like, but it's not the way things are done. And so it's this mindset of, this is the way it's always been done. And so no one can think in terms of it's like that mindset of like, this is the way it's always been done. And so that's the thing to pattern interrupt. We could completely reimagine, reinvent this. And that's the key thing to uninstall. We've always done it like this, therefore it always has to be done like this in whether it's education, health. This is the key thing. It's like, why don't we rethink, reinvent, reimagine, recreate? And exactly as you say, Simon, each local cleaning company could take put their little plaque on, sponsored by such and such cleaning company, and or such and such painters and decorator company, and give them the bus stop to be their little advert, you know, for that, you know, for local independent businesses. Right. And you could have some incredible, like almost have a competition for the best kept bus stop. Give them leeway to redecorate it, repaint it, plant it, turn it into a book. You know, all of these local initiatives, it would be so much fun and involve all the local businesses. So whoever supplies the bulbs, let them put their little plaque saying, these bulbs were supplied by Forest Garden Centre, Darley Dale, you know, with love, you know.
It just gets better. I mean, I don't want to hog the call either, but you've really got me going there. I mean, the artistic thing, bus shelters are so boring. Why can't they be painted?
There's a great book. I forget where I saw it. There's a great book about bus shelters of the whole world, where they've got a whole picture, like in Peru and Norway and Russia, of these incredible bus shelters that have been transformed by the people. It's an art book. It's a really brilliant book.
You could allocate each one to the local primary school.
Absolutely. Or any local group, like the local Stand in the Park, have a yellow one with smiley faces all over it. Brilliant. I mean, why currently they're all Derbyshire, Dale, green, locally branded, but why can't the people and the local independent businesses sponsor and rebrand each one. I think that's just why not?
Yeah,
It would
I
be
think
so much fun.
And the fruit trees as well. I think that has bugged me since I was a child, actually, that we do not have fruit growing at the side of the roads or in general, you know.
Like in Spain, where they have orange trees everywhere.
In Sri Lanka, bananas everywhere. This has been going on a long time, that we have not had food generally available, that we've had food put into where it needs to be paid for instead of where we can get access to it.
And wrapped in plastic.
That said, you're all right. The mindset, hang on, Roger, just going to, the mindset is a bit odd, because they have in Clawson two apple trees on the green, on the tiny bit of green that's left. And every year, I think I'm about the only one who goes and takes one, and there is just this floor covered in apples. I mean, they're great for wildlife. Birds love it, squirrel, everything, they love it. And even foxes come and eat them. But yeah, people need to stop thinking they've got to pay for everything and just go and eat the stuff. Sorry, go on, Roger.
Well, I wanted to interrupt because you know, it's the right moment. I thought about fruit trees instead of just park trees, but what you haven't taken into consideration is health and safety. That stops everything.
Roger,
kids climbing the trees.
He's
and
being devil's
down.
advocate.
Climbing trees and falling down.
You're starting to sound like a local.
Climbing trees is healthy. Climbing trees, eating fruit, it's healthy. And yes, you might get stung by the occasional wasp, you know, because that happens. And that is also quite good for a lot of people who are not, you know, and I know the allergy thing is a bit of a problem now, because a lot of people have developed allergies. I'm not going to say why, or why I think. But they so it is more of a problem than it used to be, but generally speaking, they've found things like bee stings are quite good for preventing arthritis. That sort of thing.
Roger's point's an opportunity. It's an opportunity to challenge the bullshit.
It is.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Tree planted with no bullshit. Bus shelter tidied with no bullshit.
Eli's mentioning about Hebden Bridge having a wilding thing going on in the town, and just a little thing to mention that there's someone in Bakewell who goes around planting cannabis seeds in all of the flower beds as a prank, to just like dotting them around. Quite funny, because I saw one sprouting actually.
Yeah, and Rose is saying she stood for election. Well done, Rose. That's brilliant, and I hope you will do it again this year, if even if it's only on paper, or even if you don't manage to get out and about. So it's really good to have the choices there. If you're standing in a parliamentary election, you do get a minute or so to talk on the BBC, because we all love the BBC, don't we? So anyway, yes. So who else have we got to see? Is anyone else like to come in and talk who hasn't spoken already? Oh, has Rachel put a new hand up, or is that an old one?
I have, but I'm happy to wait.
Let's see if Carrie can work her microphone today. Oh, I shouldn't tease. After the technology issues I've had this morning, I definitely shouldn't be teasing.
Okay, is that right?
Yes!
Yay! Actually, I'm on a different computer, which actually is quite good. Because we had to, one of them had to have an extra RAM put in it because it was not enough, and blah, blah. Cost all of 10 quid from a local guy. Yeah, you were talking about fruit trees, and I recently went on a pruning course at the Forest Garden. That was really interesting, because it was not just about pruning, it was about the whole micro system underground of all the fungi and how it affects everything. And they tend to leave stuff a lot to do its own thing as well. And the reason I went on the course was because I think I wrote to you to talk to you about something I started up accidentally on this park home site, where an old elderly lady had one apple tree and she didn't know what to do with all the apples. So we collected them and distributed them to about 10 families, and they gave them to neighbours. Then all the windfalls we made cider with, and then all the apples we collected, we made chutneys and apple jam, and so we had an absolute abundance from one tree, which is quite amazing. And I'm very much into food security at the moment because, you know, I think it's going to be a problem in the future. And so that, you know, planting trees is an excellent idea. And I can't remember what the other thing was I was going to say, sorry. But yeah, that was, I don't want to take up too much of your time.
No,
I just wanted to ask Rachel, did you have a reply from your letter you sent to the lovely Mr. Gove? Or
No,
about the land?
not a dicky bird. Not a dicky bird.
Right. Not surprising, really, but yeah.
Terrible man. He's a terrible man. He was very, very weffy. He's the one that goes to Bilderberg. And all that.
Right, okay, fair enough.
It's called.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, he's terrible.
And I was just showing the badge stand in the park, and there was a meeting recently of all these types of groups, and there was at least 100 people attended in a hall. And then we had another group, and it's not a question of, oh, you belong to this group, you belong to that group. It's just like, we're all together in this. We're all doing what we can, and bringing our ideas and skills to the table. And we found out there's a group nearby that meet once a fortnight, and they're in someone's house, and there were at least 30 people all crammed in. And it was quite a fantastic feeling of, wow, all these people are getting together. And just quickly regarding local produce, I don't know whether Cornwall is unique in this. I don't think so, but we have discovered on our local veg stall that there's Cornish mayonnaise and ketchup and ice cream and just a whole plethora of stuff. There's fresh local meat from the butcher, fresh fish, which is just across from the harbour. And it's absolutely abundant. It's amazing. And also, I looked at all the ingredients in it, and there isn't any nasty emulsifiers and things in these products. And we're completely not shopping at a supermarket now.
No,
you know, we're
just brilliant.
Just shopping locally, and we're paying in cash.
Yes.
And we're always saying, oh, keep cash going every time we pay in cash, and it starts up a conversation usually. And
usually the shopkeepers are very aware, actually, of at least the cash issue, though.
Yes.
Because they're saying, well, yes, if somebody comes in and spends 50p and then pays on a card, that's basically all the profit gone. It's gone.
Yes.
There's nothing. There's nothing from that sale. In fact, it's actually cost the shopkeeper to do that.
Yes.
Yeah, food security is a big issue this year. It's I don't know about you, but I've been watching the skies, and it's been just amazing the effort that's gone into creating rain this year. The farmers have been having so much trouble getting stuff off the fields, collecting the potatoes. I saw there was a window of about 3 days, and then the farmers managed to get on the fields. They were dragging all the mud off it. It was really awful to see. Almost immediately the rain was created again, and then the maize has been washed away and the beans have rotted. So we've got a very big issue going on with food security. Also, the tariffs, the government tariffs, which whether you agree with tariffs or not, but they do keep a lot of farmers going. They do not give much at all for food. They do for wildlife, wild seeds, lots of things, other things but even for just leaving food in the ground, so planting a maize crop and just leaving it to rot gets quite a lot. Harvesting it for food, very, very little. It's not really not a thing at all. There is a big push to create shortage. Farms being Kerry was telling me her local farm was shut down with E. coli, which is a generic bacteria. It's everywhere. All sorts of problems created, bird flu, all by design, all created. We definitely need to be doing our own thing. Definitely needs to be.
Well, they're itching, that the government are itching to cull, aren't they?
Oh,
for obvious
absolutely.
reasons.
Yes. I mean,
And
DEFRA's always been terrible for it, but they're really trying to this year, really trying to get.
I've done some research on regenerative farming, and I've produced a little handout which I've given out to people, and I'm going to. I know now I know more people, contacts. They know farmers, so I can give them to farmers as well, to help them make more of a profit and to be more in-house. But also, excuse me, I don't know if there's any problem with farmers thinking not just about possibly cooperatives or getting people to come and volunteer to work on their land, and then they can take away whatever produce they want, but also to maybe start up private memberships so they can actually grow what they want, do what they want, and then the members come along and pay a donation, which is obviously, you know, sorted out before for the produce, and then they're not restricted, and they can feed their animals what they want. I don't know. It's just ideas at the moment, which I'm going to...
well, in theory at least, in legislation at least, even a domestic animal cannot be fed what you want. There is legislation about pretty much every animal. Chickens, you're not allowed to feed them household scraps according to the legislation. Pigs cannot be fed anything that's that's animal products, even though they are pretty omnivory. But yeah, there's a lot going on. But I see what you're saying. Well, it's definitely worth a look. Anything we can do, anything.
Well, there was a lady who has, well, she has a chicken farm, and the council immediately came down and said, "Oh, you can't, sell your produce." And she said, "Well, it's nothing to do with you, because I've got a private members club, and so the members come up and they clean out the chickens and they take the eggs." And she said to the council people, "Well, actually, you're trespassing. You're on my land. Can you go, please?"
Excellent. Yeah.
So yes.
But yeah, there is even in those circumstances, there's some restrictions on what you're supposed to do. And the bird flu kind of rubbish.
Yes.
But yes, that definitely sounds promising, and I think something's definitely got to give. We've definitely got to do this, and it's great to see the farmers coming out. I hope you're all sending lots of love to the farmers.
Oh yes, absolutely.
Apparently they blocked
worldwide
off this year, last week, which was nice to see them actually. But of course, you don't hear much about it on the news, do you?
Well,
anyway,
I do, because I've got friends in France, and they were telling me, that there's tractors blocking roads, there's burning tires, and there's
they had Paris under siege, didn't they? Blocked
a bit
off
like it's the French Revolution revisited, and
actually it's the Pluto return, isn't it?
Yes, it is indeed,
and the American one.
Yes, so, exactly.
Yeah, it's exactly
right on cue.
Right. And Pluto is all about top-down authority.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got the planets on our side at least.
Anyway, Carrie, can I move on, because there's
sure. Sorry. Okay, fine.
Can I go to somebody who I've not heard from yet? Is this who have we got? Eli, is it? Hello, Eli. Haven't heard from you yet.
Oh yes, hi.
Hi.
I just wanted to say, just add to what Carrie was saying. I mean, I'm in Bristol, so I'm miles away. But we're very lucky. We've got we've got a family just south of Bristol who've opened up their farm to the community. Absolutely amazing, Keith and Lucy. They don't know what they're doing. I'd just like to add that, because they're completely new to it, and they've had real difficulties with particular characters within the community, and they've had lots of internal struggles, and they've had to go through this whole sort of dark night of the soul with their community. Really difficult. But what Carrie was saying about being in the private is the way forward. It is absolutely the way forward, and we're going again this year, and there's all sorts of ideas about us having a box scheme. I actually I used to deliver vegetables for Organics to Go 15 years ago. I did a box scheme for 6 years, I think I delivered. Interestingly enough, I worked for Roger Hallam, who started Extinction Rebellion, which is a strange thing. He was a psychopath then. We delivered veg in Bristol for 6 years, and so I know how to run box schemes. Anyway, I think Carrie's exactly right. The farm down the road, what we're going to do is we're going to have a combination of a private members association, a business model for selling vegetables into the very local community, because I was saying the way that I'll just quickly tell you this so you know how we did it. We expanded our round from about 30 bags to about just under 300 bags when we finished in the 6 years. And all we did, so simple, everything was done by phone. It was a phone number, and we used to ring our customers up and say, we're delivering this week. Now, there is some resource time there, but it saves the complexity of a website, and people need to be re-educated into not just buying stuff off shelves and actually looking at what they've got in their fridge and in their garden, and eating what's right in front of them. That's a super important thing. So we used to deliver our veg box, say, at number 10, and we'd leaflet number 12 and number 8. And we'd also turn around and we'd leaflet number 7, number 9, and number 11. And we used to do that every single week. And what you'd find is you get these clusters of people, because you don't want to be driving all over the place, who would express interest, and they'd see you deliver sometimes, or you get to speak to them. And so we'd build these little clusters of people who were buying off us. And that's all we did. It was really simple, very, very cheap to do. They used to love the fact that we rung them up every Friday. I mean, it did get a bit crazy when we had hundreds of people, but it was always like, we used to say to people, are you okay with what we're doing? If you are, we won't ring you up. So we used to just keep the numbers down. And then some people would say, well, I don't want the salad this week, I want extra, whatever. And I just wanted to say that. So that's what we're doing in Nailsea in Bristol. The key thing is to actually have somewhere to do the growing. Now, on another side, my friend Chris, who's a herbalist, in fact, I'm literally just about to buy a load of seeds to grow for him. But what he's encouraging people to do in Bristol is to actually convert their gardens into growing spaces. And I'm sure some of you guys have done that. I've done it in my garden. It was crazy. I built a greenhouse. I got rid of my lawn. I got raised beds. I just went for it. Last year, I didn't do much at all because I was so busy. But the year before, I actually managed to not buy any vegetables for 6 weeks. Now, that might not seem like a lot, but if you're going out every day, picking something from your garden, and you can manage to actually do that for 6 weeks, that's not too bad on your first.
And you're eating living stuff as well. You're eating actually live produce straight from the garden. I mean, I had a few pumpkins last year, but one filled my freezer. When I made pumpkin soup, I had to put the rest out on the front for people to just take away, which is fine, no problem. Same with the courgettes, I couldn't use them all. And this was just a couple of plants on a muck heap, not taking up garden space, on a muck heap, just on the general compost heap. And I did nothing, and it pulled my mum and dad's hedge down, which I was really pleased about. It actually went through the hedge. Yeah,
I'm amazed.
I love that.
Amazed. I'm amazed. This year, I've just started doing winter spinach, and I've got a few things in my greenhouse. But over the winter, I've had cabbages growing. I've pulled potatoes out of the ground. I didn't do anything with half of it, and you can literally just go out and harvest what's there. There's loads of vegetables that just keep growing. I mean, we've got to give them more credit,
Yeah, and there's some weeds as well, what we call weeds, that are actually better than spinach. I actually prefer them. So, fat hen and things like that. Why on earth are we bothering with spinach? You have to get seed for it, and you have to mess around with it. So just, it is about a whole re-education thing. I mean, at this time of year, the hawthorn will be coming out, and the leaves there are very salad worthy, at this time of year before they get bitter. So lots going on there. We used to do a delivery thing, my mum and dad as well, and they used to ring up, and it was a very personal service. There were a couple of old people where they were ring up for asking for their sherry and things, and you would say, do you need firelighters? What about logs? Would you like anything to eat at all this week? And then they'd think about it. Oh, well, I suppose I better have some. It's like, you can't live on sherry. So it's a very good thing to do, and it's actually so simple. They used to have a little notebook they filled in, and then they, you know, just leave it out, and at some point in the week we go and collect it. So say Tuesdays we go around, collect up the notebooks, and then Fridays deliver all the stuff with various things, and the notebook would be back in the box with the bill totted up. So yeah, so it's so much easier than computers and, you know, card payments and blah blah. Anyway, let's go to Rachel.
Hey, I'm loving this conversation this week. It's so great, and that's amazing, Eli, to hear you talk about that box sharing. I just wanted to get down to some like nuts and bolts basics, just to echo what Roger was saying about funding, raising funds. Now, I haven't received any support yet from anyone, just to let you know, even though we put it out. These cost £320 for 2,000, and I got them done locally. I probably could have got it cheaper if I'd gone to solo print, but I wanted to support local businesses. But just expanding that up, if I want to do the same thing for the 68,000 local election one, it's going to cost thousands of pounds, even if I reduce the quality of the paper, which I don't really want to do. So, you know, all these things have a cost. The local elections are free to stand, but the mayor and the MP ones are £500 each for the deposit, which you get back if you get 5%. So there's some really hard costs. So, and that's not just for me, but that's Roger and Julie and anyone else standing. So just really wishing to encourage everyone who can, even if it's just putting a £5 in an envelope and sending it to one of us or all of us, that would be really, really appreciated. I know people think that I'm a multi-millionaire dragon, but that's propaganda. So, and I'm funding it myself, and I'll find a way. I'll find a way. I'm determined. I won't let the money stand in my way, but it will make life easier. So I'm going to put in, when I upload the video, I'll put in the info on how to do those donations. So look below the video for how to get money to Roger, to Julie, to myself, and then anyone else who wants to. We can help you, support you to fundraise as well. So just wanted to mention that, because it will help a lot with these chunky costs which are looming, which will be looming for a lot of us, especially if the general election is suddenly called in March. It will accelerate everything.
Well, Rachel, I looked at the email and it said £50. Below £50 you didn't have to declare. I understood it was 500.
Well, no, the point is below £50 is not considered a donation. Anything above that, you have to qualify. You have to be a qualifying donor. So you have to be on the electoral roll, or you have to be a trade union, or you have to be a qualifying company. So there are rules about if it's over £50, there's certain things that you can and can't accept. And so if I were to receive like £1,000 cash in a brown envelope from a source that didn't qualify, or even £400, let's call it that, and it didn't qualify, and I accepted it, that would be, I'd have the police knock it. And if I won the election, I could be done for election fraud and and lose the election, have the seat taken away from me. So we would have, if we can't establish that monies qualify, we have to hand them over to the Electoral Commission. Those are the rules. I was looking into it, and they're bound to want to try and catch us out.
So what's the 500 limit? Is that where you have to declare it?
I think that's about disclosure.
That's when you have to declare what somebody has given you.
I think that's about disclosure. But what I'm saying is that there will be people trying to trip and trick us up, I suspect.
Well, we've already had it, haven't we?
Mindful.
We've already had it with you.
I know, that's that, and I've been through that. So they are watching us like a hawk. Because even if I win this local council election, they will try to take the seat off me if they can, because I made some error, because we're new to this. And so we're doing this with the best will and heart, but we haven't experienced, we having to be very careful to comply with all of the red tape, rules and regulations, which they make so complicated because they exactly for this reason. Because they want to trick and trip people up. That's my feeling. Anyway, I'll stop talking because there's loads of hands up.
Okay, so yes, it's getting to where we're about to run over. So if we can keep the rest of them fairly brief, and not got the best record on that. Roger. I know you're muted, Roger. We can't hear you.
Sure. Yeah, I just wanted to ask Rachel. She mentioned that on the last meeting that Helen Miller was a heart health specialist, and she gave an email address, but she wasn't certain whether it was correct or not. So I'd like to know, can I have the correct address for Rachel? Sorry, Helen
Yeah.
Miller.
I'll
Okay.
send you the link. It says hearthealer.co.uk, but I'll send you the link, Rog.
Lovely.
Okay, you send that to me. Thank you very much indeed.
Okay,
Yeah.
and Simon?
Yeah, I'm with you, Rachel. This is really good. I wasn't going to bother. I'm glad I did.
We've got our pretty bus shelters.
I've always felt from the very beginning that the love movement is a lot more than just political. There's lots of stuff that we can do in between. What you're highlighting in terms of the financial challenge, I would gladly, I think if we maybe set up something on the website which ring-fenced donations specifically to pay for elections, I would gladly pay £5 a month towards that on an ongoing basis. And I think a lot of people perhaps would.
Good idea.
The challenge we have, we don't have any banking left.
accounts.
All of our bank accounts have been closed down. We still have a PayPal, and some people are sending stuff to that, but that's the problem we have.
Well, maybe, I don't know, Julie and I have just opened a co-op account. I mean, it's a business account, but maybe we could use that. I don't know.
What, ring fence that, a ring fence part of that? I mean, I have a spare bank account that I could also use, but it's a personal account. I'm always very reluctant to.
But the
do
point is,
that. It
as soon
doesn't
as they
look-
discover it's political, they'll close it down. Be
Yeah.
Well,
aware.
we just put it up as a membership fee, but there must be, like you're saying, there are all these barriers they put in our way.
Yes.
They've perfected it over centuries. And we need to start challenging these absurdities.
Yeah.
But just on another point, I was thinking, I listened to something Dan Aston Gregory, and he said it's actually when he puts something up on his podcast or whatever, and it's about a problem, he actually gets 90% more of a response when he talks about solutions. People aren't really interested in solutions, but this is evolving. And I'm thinking that maybe in terms of the love movement, we should have one call, because the time's running over, one call dedicated to solutions, one call dedicated to politics, one general one. Because on the solution side of things, you know, what we were talking about earlier, one of the things that galls me, that 60% of the Tewkesbury Town Council precept goes on wages, you know, and they're just sat there in the office pushing bits of paper around, doing nothing.
Annoying us.
If the people of the town found ways to get all that the town council is responsible for, so that they're not doing anything, then quite legitimately, I don't want to put people out of a job, but you know, if they're not doing anything, that's another huge chunk of money that can be reallocated.
There's a huge layer of salaries for the executive, particularly the chief executive is like a chunk. Really, I can't remember the exact figures. I was looking at Derbyshire District Council. It's a massive chunk of money for the board.
And of course, the pension schemes they get, you know,
I think as much of a
people
problem
in the
is
private sector would kill for them.
Well, people in the private sector do get massive amounts of council money, the select few that they use, and that's part of the problem, is that actually the council sometimes is actually there creating the work for these people because they are some sort of friend or relative or whatever, or just some very generous sponsor. So they are actually part of the problem too, is some of the private companies that the councils and the highways and the government uses. And we saw it in COVID, didn't we? We saw you know, how easily they threw our money at people whose company, you know, people who they liked
Well,
via
they
some
should be
company that they
required,
set up in 5
they should
minutes.
be required to declare if they're Freemasons. That's a definite.
Yeah, I don't think it's all Freemasonry to blame.
Well, if they are, we have a
plenty
right
of-
to know.
I think we do. I think if they're WEF or Freemasons, or if they have any other vested interest, we should absolutely know. You know, people should know their local representatives. But of course, with the mayor, they're trying to get the areas so big that we can't connect with our local representative, and the local representative is not really accountable to us. We're not likely to run into them in the pub like we can our local MP, possibly. And they're trying to take that accountability away, make the areas big enough for them to control, small enough for them to control, one little person controlling this little area, but the area is too big for them to connect on an individual level, like you should be able to with a constituency MP. So that's the mayor thing is really important. Actually, I can't stress enough how important the mayors. If you've got a mayor coming up in your region, a mayoral election coming up in your region, this is how they're bringing in new layers and all the things that we don't want. The carbon agenda, all the extra, the big ring roads that going around towns that are filled with houses, the immigration policies, all that sort of rubbish. Anything that we don't want. And that they do want is being brought in via these mayors, and people are not taking them seriously. They have a huge amount of power with a small number of people accountable. It's the leaders of the councils in the area, isn't it? And this one who have the say. And they're
the mayor has the power to veto. That's the key thing. So decisions need to be made by the combined authority leaders, but the mayor has the power to veto. That's the key thing. That's their key power to stop things.
So if the WEFers manage to get to the councils, which they clearly have in many instances, and they've managed to WEF them somehow. The one disruptive force on my screen on the right hand corner, which is Rachel, the one disruptive voice can say no to all that bit of nonsense and just stop it. Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's really important if you've got mayors in your area, they are desperate to get this this agenda devolved away from Parliament, where they have we think it's easy to get stuff through Parliament and that Parliament is bought and sold and all the rest of it, but it will seem so much more powerful compared to the mayors who will just roll over. These mayoral regions will roll over if we don't have the disruptive influence of like the Rachels and the Julies and
just to say, Lynn, sorry to interrupt, but just came through. Someone phoned me yesterday who lives in Derbyshire or used to live in Derbyshire, who I won't say which candidate for the independent Bakewell ward, for the Bakewell ward, one of the candidates from one of the party political candidates is a complete crook and a Freemason, and she was just like filling me in on the levels of corruption within the town council that need to just have a light shone on them. That's why they don't want someone like me to go in and who will call it out. I'm quite dangerous from that perspective.
Yeah, rightly so. So yes, there we go. So the mayor elections, they are likely to happen in May. Check out your region, see if your councils have all signed up to having a mayor, because what they do is they go to the councils, oh, you can have this mayor and you'll get a load of extra money, and your council leader will be represented by the mayor and they won't be able to do anything without the council leaders say so, and you'll have this, it'll take it away from Parliament, so it's all coming back to local. It's all a bit of a load of BS. It is there to bring in this agenda. This is how they will bring it in. So this being able to veto it is absolutely what we need to do. And so that's how we're going to go. Is everybody complete? I'm just going to say hi to Conrad, how's just a quick word on how the legal battle's going for you, Conrad, or the lawful battle.
Thank you for including me. I did have a little talk coming up, but it's going to take 5 or 10 minutes, maybe next time. Basically looking at the fact that 7 concerned citizens, which you might be aware of for the Torquay area, is now moved into the South Hams and into Cornwall. And they're being very successful at pointing out to the council that there are many things that are not fit for purpose, which I think is a great expression. And this is what my talk is about, but we're running out of time. Legal battles or lawful battles, lawfully in my own heart, I know that I'm in the right place. And I feel this is the most important thing of all, that we have it in our hearts and in our inner knowing. This is so important for everybody, because that's the place to start from, not the place to finish up at. Anyway, that's enough from me. Thank you for including me. Lovely to see you all, and see you next time.
Okay, thanks, Conrad. And next time, do butt in there, because I know you have such an interesting life and story and battle going on, really. Well, not battle, loving explanations, loving education of
Yes,
various people.
educating the council.
Yes, you're on an education mission, and that's so far been successful. And Brian has some challenge going on, which I hope is going well, Brian. No. Yeah, good, good, excellent. Thank you, everybody, for coming and for joining in. Hello, go on, Brian.
Well done. Yes, yes, I was listening. You were all making so much sense. Yes, there is abundance, isn't there? The water we had trouble with in the past, isn't it? Yes, of course they planted apple trees in the trees. It was the law to actually do that. There are laws that provide you with water. You know, it's just getting back to the good energy. The good energy is back. And you guys are doing amazing stuff. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Brian.
I will pass on to somebody else. I was just listening
you're
today.
a bit stilted, actually. You're sort of jolting as you go. There's a little bit of that going on, isn't there, with your videoing? That's quite interesting. Anyway, I think if we're all complete, if we're we've just about got to going over 10 minutes or so. I hope that's okay with everybody. But thank you so much for your contributions. Thank you so much for your support. And please go and spread the word for the elections at the moment, and all the other good ideas that you've heard. Let's see if we can get stuff happening. Okay. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye.
Have a good day.
Bye.
Happy Valentine's.
Bye, Brian.